Yeah, man!
Hello, my name is Miguel, and today I'm gonna make for you beef curry stew. So you're gonna need about a pound of beef stew, 8 garlic cloves, already peel off the skin, 1 medium-sized onion, spring of thyme, a stack of scallion, about 1.5 medium-sized onion, teaspoon of cumin, tablespoon of sea salt, quarter teaspoon of pimento berries, teaspoon of rosemary, teaspoon of marjoram, and a teaspoon of oregano. And I'm going to cook it today with Irish potato. A tablespoon of dried parsley and a tablespoon of dried basil. Any of these herbs, you can use them fresh. And a tablespoon and a half of curry powder. I'm going to divide the ingredients in 2 containers. Add 1 and add 2. For the onion, just remove the skin and slice or dice the onion. Add half of the onion in container 1 and the other half. 1 teaspoon of cumin, grounded cumin. Put it in container, add 1. Rosemary. Just grind it fine, because if you don't, you're going to see these little rosemary leaves in your stew, and you don't want that. So grind the rosemary leaves fine and divide it as well. Tablespoon of dried parsley. Add half in container 1 and half in container 2. Dried basil. You do the same. 1 tablespoon. This is pimento berries. It's optional. Use quarter teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of marjoram. 1 teaspoon of oregano. As for the scallion, just remove the dying leaves and cut the ends and cut off ends. And then dice fine and divide it. A tablespoon of sea salt. This is spring of thyme. I need to rinse it. Alright, so I just add a spring of thyme to add container 2. This is Irish potato. Look like they grew them in swamp. I know these Irish potatoes look terrible, but they're not. They're pretty good. Let me just say something. Usually we don't curry beef here in Jamaica, but a couple of you requested a long time ago. So I decided to do it because I did it before and I used the cumin herb, and the cumin herb enhance it, give it a curry goat flavor. But to be honest, you can still taste the beef flavor. But for those of you guys in countries where you don't have access to goat's meat or sheep's meat, you can use the beef and substitute it for curry goat, and it will not taste as curry goat, but it can use as a substitute. The Irish potato, now you peel it into the skin and then dice it in chunks. So once you dice the Irish, you just put it aside and grind your garlic to puree and divide it as well. Leave 1 garlic old. I find that if you mash the garlic, it breaks down into the stew, and for those of you who don't like the flavor of garlic, it works out better. So that's what you want. Cover your containers and put them aside for later. This is a piece of ginger. Break off a piece of ginger, say the size of your index, first bend of your finger, about a 1/4 inch piece, and peel the ginger. What we're going to do next is burn the curry. So we're going to use a piece of ginger, burn the curry. Put to heat a pressure cooker. Put the stove's gauge on 4, medium low. Add a piece of ginger. Just allow it to dry for like 30 seconds to a minute. Remember I told you about leaving that 1 garlic clove? Add the garlic clove. After the 30 seconds between a minute, the stove's gauge is on 4, medium low. Measure and add 1 tablespoon and a half. Just measure and add 1 tablespoon and a half right now. You can get away with using 2 tablespoons, but no more than the 2 tablespoons. Do as you see me doing. I just stick the fork in the garlic and use the garlic to rub the pot's bottom with the curry powder. I call it burning the curry. See, you gotta do this quick, and you don't want the curry powder to get black or too dark, because if you do, curry is gonna be dark. You don't want it. Same time in front of your eyes, a minute between 2. Add less than 1/4 cup of cooking oil, between 1/4 cup and less. You see how I just shift the pan and you saw the shade make the curry look black? It's the shadow why it look black. But if it wasn't for the shadow and it got that black, it would have been spoiled. So this is our beef stew. It's already cut in chunks. If it wasn't, you would just cut 2-inch chunks. This is beef chunks. I don't wash meat, but if you feel like washing meat, you can just sprinkle a couple drops of white distilled white vinegar, and just rinse it off quickly with some water, and and then feel good within yourself. So you had your stew beef, to the burn the curry and stir in, and coat the stew beef thoroughly. A few seconds after that, add seasonings, ingredients, container, add 1. Stir in, kind of stir fry the seasoning and burn it somewhat, and you kind of break up the flavor, break up the ingredients. Now, about a minute and a half after you add the seasonings, from container 1, add water. Add 3 cups of water. Stove's gauge is on 4, medium-low all this time. Remember now, you only want to take a minute between 2 minutes to burn your curry. Some people do not even burn curry. They just add it to the stew. But they say, which I believe it do, curry is a thing that can hurt your stomach. So if you don't prepare it properly, it might hurt your stomach. Curry powder is turmeric root. Well, it should be, but there are many ways how they make curry powder. So you get the pressure cooker's lid, make sure the rubber is on properly, and put the lid on properly. Once it starts to whistle, we're going to start timing. It starts to whistle, stove gauge is on 4, medium-low. Set your timer for 15 minutes and allow. After the time, you just remove the pressure cooker, allow it to cool. If you're in a hurry, you run this part over water until it releases. Don't ever lift the nozzle up for speedy cooling. Just allow it to cool on its own. Or you can immerse the pan in water. Just to say, if beef chunks is cut too small, like inch, you set the timer for 12 minutes. But if it's like 2 inches to about 3 inches big chunks, you set it for 15 minutes. And just me taking out half of a Scotch bonnet pepper. And we're going to use a tablespoon of white vinegar. It releases. You can still cook in the same pan, but I'm going to transfer it to this saucepan. Measure and add a tablespoon of white vinegar. You see how the curry stew look rich? That's how you want it. Turn the stove back on. Put the stove's gauge on 4, medium-low. Now add seasonings from container 2. You see, when you're doing natural cooking, you have to do it this way. That way you maximize flavor. This is the Irish. You're not going to add the Irish yet, because you know why? If you add the Irish now, it's going to cook quick, and then it's going to break down in the stew and make your stew a little bit too starchy. You don't want. And remember now, the Irish is optional. Stove's gauge is on 4, medium-low. Stir in, use the pan's lid and cover it properly and allow. And you can also use carrot instead of Irish, or you can not use anything. If you want to be creative, you can add broccoli, any kind of vegetable at the end. It starts to boil and stew. Oh, I forget to show you how tender, or if it got tenderized. To make sure your beef is tenderized, you just use a fork and stick it in the beef, and once it goes through easily, it's tenderized. Or you use your finger and just break off a little piece, and if it breaks off easily, it's tenderized. 15 minutes now since stewing. It's recommended you keep the lid on, sealed properly. Keep it covered within the time. Don't open it every minute. So I'm just showing you, this is what it looks like. Let's make a 1 stir and then cover it up back. Stove's gauge is on 4, medium-low. 25 minutes. So you can see the water is getting less. All the water is evaporating, leaving back all the nutrients in the stew. This is a piece of Scotch bonnet pepper. You gotta watch it, because you don't want the stew too hot or too spicy. So I put it somewhere I can watch it. Don't want to forget it. So I put it on the surface. Just cover my pan properly and allow. Today I'm having this beef curry stew with white rice. Everybody know that curry is nice with white rice. 35 minutes stew it. I can smell the aroma. You can see the stew is thickening. Remember I was telling you about the pepper? I was mindful of the pepper because I don't want the pepper to break in the stew and make it too spicy. Now would be a good time to remove the thyme stick because it splashes and it messes stove up, can splash and burn you too. That's what you want. Gravy, thickening. Some people add butter. To be honest, this stew would be awesome with a tablespoon and a half of butter. I'm against butter, but you guys, you can use about a tablespoon of butter. It will kind of spruce the flavor up somewhat. Stove gauge still on 4. Starts to thicken. A secret, once your stew starts to stick to the pot's bottom, that's a sign to say the gravy is sticking up and not watery. Alright, I'm gonna let it stay for about a minute, between 3 or 4 5. Alright, 40 between 45 minutes, and we're gonna be thickening the gravy. Now, we're 42 minutes thereabout. If you had too much gravy, you could have turned the stove up somewhat, leave the lid off, and just let it thicken. The water will evaporate, gravy will thicken. Butter too is gonna make it more creamy. In fact, I will tell you to use a tablespoon. That's it, finish. It took around 45 minutes. So this is beef curry stew, or you can say curried beef stew. Jamaicans never curry beef, to be honest. Maybe a few do. I know somewhere internationally people curry beef. Like I said, a couple of you made a request, and to be honest, when you made a request, I wasn't gonna do it because we never curry beef here. Because we have curry goat, and curry goat is so delicious. Take a scoop of this delicious beef curry stew and lay it on a bed of rice. This is beef curry stew, or you can say curried beef stew. The color is there though. Visit JamaicaDinners.com for the recipe. Subscribe, like, share. Cook this meal yourself. Give us feedback. It's delicious if you add a couple slices of tomato on it as well. So this is curried beef stew. Because I run out of recipes to cook, why I cook this? No, just kidding. I just said, you know what? I cook it a couple times and I use the cumin seed. But I'm just tasting a curry stew, the beef. I can still taste the beef flavor. So it don't taste like curry goat. Actually it tastes like beef, but with curry gravy or curry stew. But sometimes I cook it alone without using Irish nor carrot. Or sometimes I use just carrot. So it's optional. You could also put some lettuce on the side, or mixed vegetable, or sweet peas, or corn, or sweet corn on the side, and eat it. And for international people that don't like to eat rice, you can eat this with straight vegetables. Some steamed broccoli, or a salad. So this is just a different way of cooking beef or steak. I know steak is a cut, but I use the word steak because a lot of you are more accustomed to the word steak. Visit JamaicaDinners.com for the recipe. Subscribe, like, share. Cook this meal yourself and give us feedback. Alright. Leave your comments below.
Yeah, man!